What's up? What's going on, everyone out there in this digital TV land? We are here with another video today, and today we're gonna ask and answer the age-old question: can the TRX tow? So we're gonna go out for our first tow today. Maybe second, third tow. First for you guys. I'll explain the other two. It was pouring the other time that we did like the big tow, and then when I first hooked up the camper to the truck to make sure I got everything level and whatnot, it was like 20-30 minutes, nothing crazy. Just did a quick ride around and stopping, braking, going, turning, making sure that it did everything properly. So let's get to it. just saw me do was install a weight distribution hitch. Now that is very important when it comes to being able to tow heavier loads. So what it does is this bar on either side attaches to the frame of the camper. And what you want is when you set up the height of the tow ball and whatnot, with the camper, the truck is going to lower a certain amount of inches. Now the weight distribution hitch raises that half the distance of the original drop. Now when you're towing, you want to make sure that the camper is straight with minimal sag in the back. So basically the entire thing should look level. Now let's check and see how we did. Starting to roll, taking the camper out to the campsite. We're going to Lost River Valley Campgrounds. And one of the things you want to do when camping with the TRX, or towing with the TRX, is you want to make sure you're on tow mode. So as you can see, the transmission's tow, paddle shifter is on, stability control full, suspension sport, so that way it's a little bit stiffer, and the steering is straight. You don't want it too tight. And another thing, if you would like to do, if you come over into here, right here I've got the tow setting on, so that way I can see my brake pressure and how much I'm putting on. And then also, if you go through some of the other settings on the screen, I usually travel in map mode, but if you go here, here's the trailer tow settings. So it's, again, you can see the brake pressure, a tire pressure system, but I don't have that configured, and then how many miles I've towed thus far. Like I said, I have towed 3 times with this, so I have 352 miles of towing distance thus far. This is going to be the first time that we are recording it, mainly because, you know, the last time it was pouring the whole time, and I didn't really want to deal with the camper in the rain and the camera in the rain and whatnot. So here we go. All right, we've got our first 10 miles in towing under our belt. That's basically just getting out of our house, our town, you know, basically 1 or 2 towns over. And so far, so good. I'm cruising here at 72, and no issues. Has no problems getting up to speed. It's not overly bouncy or anything. Suspension is in its stiffest sport suspension. At least I think that's the stiffest. And we're just crawling around. We're just cruising around, and yeah, barely even notice that it's there at times. Going up a hill, it really downshifts quite a bit. When we first started this cruise, I was getting 11.5 miles per gallon, and currently at the moment I am down to 10.9. Going up a hill, I'm getting 6 miles per gallon at the moment, but now that I'm leveling off, you know, 18, 15, 13, 17, 20, you know, and then going downhill, you know, you get your normal 55 to 100. That literally doesn't mean anything. But when I towed the last time, I averaged about 9.5, which is what I was getting when I got the truck brand new without towing anything. And I'm up to about 11.5 because my town is very hilly. issues. You know, I'm doing 75, 10.9 miles per gallon at the moment. And in the tow settings, when setting this up, you can adjust like your brake settings and what you're towing. So I have it set up as like heavy towing. Here we have our little hill. You can hear the exhaust. It tends to be a little drony because of the weight that it's pulling. It doesn't usually go down this hard, but it is. I don't mind the drone. We can still have a conversation and whatnot. Once it levels off, it drops back down to nothing. But as far as the question, can you tow with a TRX? Yes. A lot of the people on the TRX pages that I'm on, whenever someone new asks, including myself, before I even started towing, what's it like towing? What can we do? You know, what's the hitch height off the ground for weight distribution? And you get your colorful people that resemble a certain sphincter part of the body that always say, if you bought a TRX for towing, you bought the wrong truck. Buy a 1500, buy a 2500, buy a 3500. You know, the TRX has an 8,100 pound towing capacity, and it tows just fine. You know, you can tow up to I've seen 45-foot campers that are under that weight, depending on how they're loaded. And the next camper we want, it's about 35 feet, and it's 7,600 pounds. So they want to allow 500 to 600 pounds, plus or minus, you know, for loaded weight. And we usually only put enough water in for, so that way if we need to pull over to use the bathroom. And then 6 pounds per gallon of water, we only put about 10 gallons in, so that's an extra 60 pounds. That's nothing incredible, nothing ridiculous, and that's not really going to affect the towing capability. And also, with the weight distribution hitch, no issues. It doesn't sway, it doesn't drag me down. I haven't had the opportunity to try the trailer steering, which I do have, by the way. I did try it once in my driveway, but I was at a funny angle, and it was a really hard something in the road. There was a really hard hill, so it wasn't really allowing the steering wheel to move. And honestly, that day I had overloaded the electric power steering because of where I was trying to get the camper and the funny angle. Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. But I learned the second time. I went back to the old way I was doing it. It took me half the time. But as far as some of the other things that are going on in here, so if you look right here, here is the trailer brake control right there. And if you look on the screen right here, I'm not stepping on the brakes, but I'm squeezing the trailer brake, and it's actually slowing me down. You can feel it pulling on the truck and camper, and you hit the trailer brake, and you know, it does a good job. And you can also see the pressure on the screen. Another cool thing is that it has auto sensing for this blind spot monitoring. As you can see right here, it's sensing, it's telling you I've got a 30-foot trailer. So it's about 24 feet, 24, 25 feet with the camper, the spare tire, and the frame, you know, from stem to stern right onto the hitch where it mounts to the back of the TRX. Then you've got about, you know, 10 inches, 12 inches of the ball sticking out, you know, the tow hitch. So you're at about, let's call 26 and a half feet, which isn't that bad, but, you know, it gives you 30 feet of blind spot monitoring, which is really cool also. So, yeah, let's do a little bit more. And once I get into doing some turns, I will have the wife hold the camera and we'll start doing some turns down the back roads and yeah, just enjoy the ride. We're about 30 minutes away from our final destination. We stopped at a store to grab some lunch meat. And I don't know if I had mentioned, but today for Boston Scally Caps, I have their bootstrap. So we're gonna quick show you a view of the camper hooked up to the truck. So as you can see, the camper is perfectly level and the truck isn't really sagging too much. It's just barely sagging. We're here in a parking lot, people looking at me. But as you can see, that it's perfectly level on this side. And then there's the weight distribution hitch in the middle. And the truck sags ever so slightly, but not enough to where it makes any form of difference. So there's the weight distribution hitch. It's on there. And that's what helps definitely with the height and how much the truck sags and the handling. Also, there's another thing that these trucks don't have, are rear sway bars. And that also is one of the things that affects the way the truck handles and towing capabilities. So it's low mainly because of the soft suspension for the rock crawling, off-roading, and the lack of a rear sway bar. Now, Hellwig makes a rear sway bar and a front sway bar upgrade. Those are two things I am eventually going to put on. First, I'm definitely going to go with the rear sway bar, and then down the road, the front sway bar. It's one of the things I had failed to mention when I was speaking to you guys earlier. Back on the road. All right, so here we are. We're down in town. So I just started off at a dead stop. A little bit of a twisty and hilly area. As you saw, no issues picking up, taking off. As you can hear, the supercharger is definitely doing some work because obviously we're pulling a little over 4,000 pounds. And well, no issues. No swaying. I mean, nothing more noticeable than any normal driving. Feels pretty good. Obviously, doing 30 miles an hour. It's a relatively smooth road, and doing a little bit of left and right. The camper didn't any wiggling. If anything, the truck did a little bit more swing than the camper, but that is also due to the fact that there isn't a rear sway bar. But we'll finish this off with a little bit more shots when we get to the campsite. my final thoughts. So here we are, finally at the campsite. So in conclusion, will the TRX tow? And the answer is yes. Under the right circumstances, you can tow, as long as you take the proper steps, including weight distribution hitches. And if you do intend to go heavier than recommended, I would do the research on possibly getting airbags, sway bars, or even swap out the suspension. But then again, you're really getting away from what the truck was designed for. It wasn't designed for, i.e. specifically, towing. But I knew the only things that I would be towing are my camper. And when I go on vacation, I want to drive the Hellcat. Obviously, I couldn't tow the camper with a Hellcat. So that left us to the Commander and the Durango. So the next logical step was the TRX. So I still get the fun and craziness of the Hellcat platform with the utilitarian capabilities, functionality, and practicality of the TRX, which I love so very much. And you know, I may have said in a couple other videos that I thought that I may have missed, would have missed the Hellcat a little bit more, but you know what? I don't. I feel much more confident in my abilities, and plus the children, they have more space and safer, and I never pushed the Hellcat to its limits. I did not. I think I saw 135 was the fastest, and I didn't have the time to go to the track like I wanted to. In 6 years of ownership, never got the opportunity to push it the way I'd liked. Was always nervous about it, stored it away during the winters, and if I could, I would love to store this away during the winter. I do intend to put a little awning place in my driveway to cover it, and I do not really intend to drive the truck because I would like this to last a good long time. I am going to get the underbody coated, so that way keeps the salt off the bottom. You know, I do live in New England where we do see a lot of salt and snow and whatnot. You know, I'm obviously going to take it out, have some fun in the winter, see what it's capable of. Maybe like long drives. You know, I know that the truck is definitely safe in that regard and whatnot. But that having been said, final thought, if you're buying the truck to tow heavy, maybe go with something else. I do believe the 1500s are rated to about 10 to 12,000 pounds. This is obviously 2 to 4,000 pounds lower because of the suspension, the lack of sway bars in the rear. That being said, if you're towing a camper or something light duty stuff, go ahead. Please, by all means, don't limit yourself by what people say on that it's not designed for that. Get something that's designed for towing. I bought this for towing my camper, and that's all I will ever need. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and as always, I appreciate everything you guys say, so please put any comments or questions that you have in the comment section below. As always, be well, stay safe.